anyone trust public health officials ever again? Stephanie De Garay is one of the people asking that question. Stephanie De Garay is the mother of Maddie De Garay. Maddie De Garay is one of the very first children in this country to receive the coronavirus vaccine. It was back during the clinical trials. All three of Stephanie De Garay's children, the entire family is pro-vaccine. Of course, that's why they enrolled their daughter in the clinical trials. They wanted the vaccine. They wanted to do the right thing. And what happened? Well, soon after getting her second shot, Maddie De Garay became gravely ill and nearly died.
Upon receiving the second shot, Maddie immediately felt pain at the injection site. And over the next 24 hours, she developed severe abdominal and chest pain. And the way she described the chest pain, and I quote, "It feels like my heart is being ripped out through my neck." Over the next 2.5 months, her abdominal, muscle, and nerve pain became unbearable. She developed additional symptoms that included gastroparesis, nausea and vomiting, erratic blood pressure and heart rate, memory loss. She mixes up words.
She's not the only one, but physician after physician told the De Garays they were just imagining it. It couldn't have been the vaccine. Most people who take the vaccine are fine. Some are not fine, and the people in charge lie about it, and they act as if it's not happening. So the policies don't change. The teachers' unions have just announced that all children in this country must be vaccinated before schools open. This despite the fact there's overwhelming evidence that kids don't need the vaccine. Those who've recovered from COVID, which is a lot of people, probably shouldn't get it and could be hurt by it. But this is happening. So it is definitely time for the rest of us to hear more about Maddie De Garay. And we're happy that her mother, Stephanie De Garay, joins us now. Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on. So, first of all, I'm so sorry, and it's a legitimately heartbreaking story. It sounds like you and your husband acted in the best possible faith. You wanted to do the right thing. You believed in the science. I'm fascinated by the response that you have had since from physicians as you tried to treat your daughter. What have they said to you?
So the only diagnosis we've gotten for her is that it's conversion disorder or functional neurologic symptom disorder, and they're blaming it on anxiety. Ironically, she did not have anxiety before the vaccine.
Right.
And the problem that we had is this was noted in her records early on. So anytime she saw any new specialist, because it was all in the same hospital, they already had their diagnosis before they even saw her.
So this is essentially the 19th century hysteria diagnosis. It's her fault. I mean, they're basically saying she has emotional problems. And I know it's painful to do this, but for our edification, please describe her symptoms. Tell us what they're blaming on anxiety.
The anxiety, pretty much anything that she has. So, I mean, those symptoms that she had in the beginning, the big one that's stuck around is her stomach. I mean, she still cannot digest food. She has an NG tube to get her nutrition. She can't go to the bathroom without, all these laxatives, which I'm sure aren't doing her any good as well. Urinary retention, I don't want to go into too much detail.
Right, but it's awful, it sounds
She was at one point having convulsions, just all kinds of neurologic and GI issues, you name it. She also couldn't walk at one point, then she could, and now after an MRI with contrast, it affected her in some way. I don't understand why, and they're not looking into why, and now she's back in a wheelchair, and she can't hold her neck up. Her neck pulls back.
But the authorities, and by the way, I should say, I'm not a physician, but we know factually that many people have been injured over the years by vaccines. We accept that risk when we distribute them to the population. So it's not a crazy assumption that the vaccine is responsible for this. Has anyone from the Biden administration, from the drug companies, anyone reached out to help you?
No, not at all. They have not.
Do they want to hear from you?
No, they don't. We have the response with the person that's leading the vaccine trial has been atrocious, and we weren't even asking for a lot. So we wanted to know what symptoms were reported, and we couldn't even get an answer on that. It was just that we report to Pfizer and they report to the FDA. That's all we got.
So Pfizer hasn't reached out to you to help in any way
No.
or to explain what might be happening with your
No.
daughter? Yeah. Well,
No.
I hope they
They're
suffer
saying it's
for
functional
that.
neurologic disorder. Yeah.
Yep.
No?
Last question, and I appreciate you doing this interview, Stephanie. How has this changed your views? I mean, you obviously went into this with full faith in the vaccine, or you wouldn't have exposed your daughter to it. How do you feel now?
So I'm still pro-vaccine, but I'm also pro-informed consent. Like, I feel like there's a possibility they knew this, well, probably a strong possibility, and I feel like everybody else should know about this. And it's being pushed down and hidden. There was a Facebook support group just to be able to help people cope and deal with what's going on because they're not getting help, and it was shut down. I mean, it's just not right.
No.
So I'm still pro-vaccine, but I think that they need to do research and figure out why this happened, especially the people in the trial. I thought that was the point of it. And they need to come up with something that's going to treat these people early, because all they're going to do is keep getting worse. I've had not billions, but a lot of people reach out to me, some from the vaccine, a lot from the current vaccine, and some from other vaccines. So.
Yeah. I'm grateful that you did this interview. Thank you. People have a right to know. They have a right to be treated like adults.
Thank you.
Stephanie De Garay, thank you.